The chair recognizes Spence Shelton, chairman of the Committee on Order of Business, for a report.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right, the Committee on Order of Business brings this report regarding not adding time, but instead the disposition of some of the motions made during the morning session. It is the convention's long-standing practice to refer motions that regard complex subjects to be referred to the Executive Committee for further consideration and study. So on behalf of the Committee on Order of Business, I move that the following motions be referred to the Executive Committee of the Southern Baptist Convention for consideration and report to the 2024 Southern Baptist Convention. J.D. Strouth, to clarify whether the Baptist faith and message requires closed communion. The motion made by Barry Holcomb to adjust policies and practices related to selecting presidential executive leaders. The motion made by Tim Overton to provide timely trustee training. The motion made by Rhett Burns to require entities to submit the information found in a Form 990 to the convention. The motion made by Ben Bowden to ask the Executive Committee to study whether any executive staff member should also serve as the treasurer for the SBC. And finally, the motion made by David Norman to amend the business and financial plan for printing of financial reports in the Book of Reports and to include information required by Form 990.
Okay, so you have heard this motion to refer from the Committee on Order of Business. It comes with the force of a second. We're going to need to clear the mob box queue because we think that some of you are lining up for the introduction of motions time that's about to happen. We're going to clear the queue to make sure that we only have people who want to talk about the motion to refer. So, is there any discussion? Microphone 5A. Do you wish to speak against the recommendation?
Yes, Mr. President. I wish to speak against this deferral. My name is David Norman, and I'm the senior pastor of University Baptist Church in San Antonio, Texas. Earlier, I asked our convention to amend its business and financial plan in a way that would add to the reporting requirements each of our entities must disclose to us each year. Let me be clear, I'm a fan of the work we do as a convention and the vital work done by each of our entities. I'm not angry. This motion is not intended to be punitive in any way. But as I teach our congregation at University Baptist Church in San Antonio, and as I've taught students at 2 SBC seminaries, our cooperation means that every IMB missionary we commission this morning, every IMB missionary on the field is one of our missionaries. Every NAM church planner is one of our church planners. Every graduate from a Southern Baptist seminary is one of our graduates. And every entity of the Southern Baptist Convention is our entity. We as messengers and churches who partner through the cooperative program own these entities. And we should have the ability to decide what financial information is disclosed to us each year. The fact is, IRS Form 990 is the baseline of financial disclosure that every nonprofit organization is required to file and make public each year, with the exception of organizations deemed by the IRS to be churches. Now hear me, I celebrate religious liberty protections that prevent the government from compelling our churches and entities to do just about anything, and that includes the filing of Form 990. That having been said, friends, our deeply held convictions regarding religious liberty should not be the reason we don't voluntarily compel ourselves to make the kind of financial disclosures every other nonprofit is forced to make. My understanding is that this motion is being referred to the Executive Committee. I'm simply asking that in a moment you join me in overruling the Committee on Order of Business and bringing this motion to the floor so that we, as the messengers from the churches of this convention, can determine whether we want to amend our business and financial plan so that our entities are subject to disclose to us, not the government, just a...
I'm sorry, brother, but you have exceeded your time. So, microphone 8A, do you wish to make an amendment?
I do, Mr. Moderator. My name is Jonathan Whitehead from Abundant Life Church in Lee Summit, Missouri. Mr. Chairman, I move that pursuant to Bylaw 26B, the committee be instructed to arrange consideration of the motion by Rhett Burns on voluntary filing of 990s at a subsequent session of this convention.
Y'all stand at ease for just a second, sorry. Okay. This is what I'm supposed to say. Just 1 second. So, it's not a bylaw 26B motion because, no, it does have to be. Requiring entities to submit the information required. We're doing this. Okay. So,
We'll separate that out for separate consideration after we finish the motion to refer.
what we're going to do, because we have a number of items that are here, we're going to separate out the motion that you're asking about from the others, and we're going to be voting just on the other items that are there. And then, John, we'll come back and consider yours after we do that. Is that okay? All right. Very good. So, let us now move to consider microphone 3A. 3A, do you wish to make a motion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay.
Eric Sherwood, messenger from Gore Springs Baptist Church, Gore Springs, Mississippi. I move to overrule the Committee on Order of Business on the motion from David Norman regarding amending the business and financial plan.
Okay, we're going to separate that motion out too then and consider it. And microphone 6A, you wish to make a motion?
Yes. Mr. President, my name is Dr. Lida Wilbur, and I'm a messenger from Community Baptist Church in Coweta, Oklahoma. I would like to propose that the Southern Baptist Convention considers to host their 2028 convention.
Okay, so just 1 minute. Are
Yeah.
you speaking to the recommendation that was just made to refer these items, or are you attempting to make a new motion?
A new motion, sir.
Okay, that's not in order at this time.
Okay.
We'll get there in just a minute, okay?
I'm ready.
Okay, very good. Yes, you are. That's good. Okay.
So then let's vote on the remaining.
Okay.
The remaining motions.
So we're going to proceed, if there's no more discussion, to a referral, a vote on the referral of the remaining motions. And that would be the motion by J.D. Strouth of Indiana, Barry Holcomb of Mississippi, Tim Overton of Indiana, and Ben Bowden of Alabama. Are you ready for the question? As many as are in favor of referring these motions, would you indicate by raising your ballots? Thank you. You may lower them. As many as are opposed, would you indicate by raising your ballots? Thank you. You may lower them. The motion carries and the motions in question are referred. So at this time, we will move to the consideration of the motion by Rhett Burns. And we will recognize the Committee on Order of Business.
All right. We'll speak very briefly to this and to our decision to send this to the Executive Committee. It simply went to the complexity that we saw with potential outcomes for voting on this without taking a good long look at the implications of any kind of move around our business and financial plan. We are it's not really our position to do any sort of ruling on anything, simply to say what's the best way to help you, Southern Baptists, carry out your desired business. And when it came to the business and financial plan and what we presumed in our committee to be a lot of potential liabilities that we wanted to make sure were studied well, we thought a year of study on this to bring a good recommendation to accomplish the desire that you have would be the best move. And so that's why we referred it to, or recommended that it be referred to the Executive Committee.
Okay. So Mr. Whitehead has moved to suspend the rules and instruct the Committee on Order of Business to schedule his motion, the motion regarding the Rhett Burns motion requiring entities to submit the information found in the Form 990 to the convention. Is there a second? Yes, I hear a second. So it has been moved and seconded to suspend the rules and to instruct the Committee on Order of Business to schedule the motion made by Rhett Burns regarding the Form 990 requirements for consideration by this convention. The question on whether or not the convention will consider Mr. Burns's motion, Mr. Whitehead is bringing out, is undebatable. However, the chair may allow the maker of the motion to briefly give sufficient information to enable the messengers to vote intelligently on his undebatable motion. So, Mr. Whitehead, do you have a few comments that you would like to make? It's microphone 8. Yes, try it now.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. In response to the committee's concerns, I believe Southern Baptists are ready to meet the minimum of every other non-church charity in America. When people donate to the cooperative program, they should have the confidence that you have when you donate to any other charity in America, and that's what this would require. And so because the standard is so well known, I would ask messengers to say, this is something we want without additional study, that we can decide for ourselves the level of transparency. I would just say, I understand there's a second motion. Obviously, I think I would encourage messengers to vote yes on both, and Brother Norman and I can work together. Brother Norman and I can work together to make that more efficient if both are scheduled.
Okay. So the question is on suspending the rules and instructing the Committee on Order of Business to schedule the motion made by Rhett Burns regarding requiring entities to submit the information found in the Form 990 to the convention. It's for consideration by this convention. So if the motion to instruct is adopted, then the committee will schedule the motion for consideration at a later session during this convention. If the motion to instruct is not adopted, then under the rules, it will be referred to the Executive Committee. Are you ready for the vote? If you wish to consider the motion, you're going to vote yes. And if you wish to refer the motion instead, you're going to vote no. Those in favor of the motion to instruct, please raise your ballots. You may lower them. Those opposed, please raise your ballots. You may lower them. There are not 2/3 in the affirmative, and the Committee on Order of Business is not instructed to schedule the motion for consideration. It will be referred to the Executive Committee. So we will now go through the same procedure with regard to the motion that was made by David Norman to amend the business and financial plan for printing of financial reports in the Book of Reports and to include information required by Form 990. And we'll recognize the Committee on Order of Business.
The committee operated with very similar logic to Brother Norman's motion as well. We simply want to help. We believe it's our job to try and help Southern Baptists carry out their business, and by getting a good study on exactly the best way to do this, we will, in the end, have greater transparency, which is what we all want. So, same logic applies here.
So, Mr. Norman has moved to suspend the rules and instruct the Committee on Order of Business to schedule his motion regarding amending the business and financial plan for printing of financial reports in the Book of Reports and to include information required by Form 990. He's wanting to schedule that for consideration by this convention. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules and instruct the Committee on Order of Business to schedule the motion made by David Norman for consideration in this convention. The question of whether or not the convention will consider Mr. Norman's motion is undebatable. However, we do have the opportunity to give him a chance to comment so that we'll be able intelligently to consider his motion. Mr. Norman, I think you are at microphone 6, are you not? And you are free to speak. Not that one?
Mr. President.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
This convention is built upon trust. Trust demands transparency. And trust has to go both ways. Again, I'm not angry. I don't have a bone to pick. I don't have a fight to fight. But I think it is up to the messengers of the Southern Baptist Convention to determine whether or not this is even worth debating. A 2/3 vote is required to simply debate this issue. We can do this.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules and instruct the Committee on Order of Business to schedule the motion made by David Norman regarding amending the business and financial plan for printing of financial reports in the Book of Reports and to include information required by Form 990. We're a motion to consider this by this convention, and the question is on whether or not the convention will consider Mr. Norman's motion. And so, if the motion to instruct that we're looking at is adopted, then the convention, the committee will schedule David Norman's motion for consideration at a later session of the convention. If the motion to instruct is not adopted, then it's going to be referred to the executive committee. So if you wish to consider the motion, you'll vote yes. And if you do not wish to consider the motion, if you wish to refer it, then you'll vote no. All those who are in favor of the motion to instruct, will you lift your ballots? You may lower them. All who are opposed, would you lift your ballots? You may lower them. There are not 2/3 in the affirmative, and the Committee on Order of Business is not instructed to schedule the motion for consideration. The motion is referred under the rules to the Executive Committee. We now recognize Chairman Shelton to continue.
All right, the Committee on Order of Business recommends that the following motion be referred to the Ethics and Religious Liberties Commission and the Executive Committee for consideration and a report back to the 2024 SBC annual meeting. This is the motion by Brother Keith Meyer from Maryland to amend the SBC organizational manual so the ERLC assists churches and entities in responding to abuse.
Okay, you've heard this motion to refer from the Committee on Order of Business. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the vote. If you're in favor of referring this motion, please raise your ballots. Thank you. You may lower them. If you're opposed, you may raise your ballots. Thank you. You may lower them. Those in favor have it, and the motion carries. The motion is referred to the ERLC.
All right, the Committee on Order of Business rule the following, or recommend that the chair rule the following motions not in order. Aaron Wright from Texas to suspend the rules to bring out a disposed resolution. Samuel Gilliam from Louisiana to request that the Baptist Press release security footage from the 2021 SBC annual meeting related to the interaction between an SBC presidential candidate and a sex abuse survivor. Dusty Devers from Oklahoma to ask the Credentials Committee to investigate any churches involved in LGBTQ+ affirming ministries. And finally, Michelle Leslie from Louisiana to suspend Bylaw 26B and direct Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary to fund and conduct an independent third-party investigation of allegations related to seminary employees mistreating an abuse victim.
Okay, so the chair rules that the mentioned motions are not in order.
All right, finally.
Just a moment. Microphone 5A. State your name and your church and your motion.
Mr. President, my name is Samuel Gilliam, a messenger from Woodlawn Baptist Church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I'm just wanting to ask, why was my motion ruled out of order?
So there's a request that the motion from Samuel Gilliam of Louisiana, that there be an explanation as to why the motion was ruled out of order. We defer to the Committee on Order of Business to give an explanation.
In our discussion, the request of the motion was not possible since the convention communicates through its elected trustees and the executive committee was not able to be convened in the time frame requested.
Okay, thank you. So, Chair recognizes. Okay. Microphone 5A, would you please state your point of order?
Yeah, Mr. President, I might have clicked the wrong thing, so if so, let me know. But I want to appeal the ruling of the chair. Move to appeal the ruling.
Okay. On which motion?
On the motion to call my motion out of order.
Okay. So the chair has ruled that the motion by Samuel Gilliam to request that Baptist Press release security footage from the 2021 annual meeting related to the interaction between an SBC presidential candidate and a sex abuse survivor is not in order. And you are stating that you wish to appeal the decision of the chair. Is there a second? There is a second. So this is a debatable motion, and so, but it's only debatable as to the procedure. And so we will recognize Samuel Gilliam to make any discussion he wishes to about the procedure that was used.
Yes, sir. I believe it was stated that my motion was ruled out of order because the committee on, either the executive committee or the committee on the order of business couldn't convene in time to accomplish the motion. And I'd like to appeal that and say, even if it's past time, I think it's appropriate to still pursue the course of action, and I don't think that determines that it ought to be ruled out of order. And I believe that we as Southern Baptists should appeal that by a 2/3 vote so that maybe we can even debate it, but I don't think it ought to be ruled out of order.
Okay, so the chair would reply to say that the motion that was made included a specific time frame, and this convention cannot instruct the executive committee to ignore its own notice requirements for convening a meeting to consider a referral from the Southern Baptist Convention. So what I hear you saying is you don't really care that much about the time requirements that you put in place before. So what that means is you can make another motion. We're about to introduce new motions. You can make another motion that did not have those time stipulations if you wished, and that motion might be in order. But the motion that you brought with the time constraints that it had were unachievable, and it was ruled out of order on that basis. Okay. So, are you ready for the question? Oh, microphone 5A. Can you state?
Mr.
Yes.
President, this is Samuel Gilliam again. I just was wondering, I'm
Okay,
sorry to push
so
back. I'm just trying to understand.
So there's a pending appeal, and you can only speak to it once. So what we need to do is dispose of the appeal that we have ongoing right now. Hang on, the messengers might agree with you, friend, in which case you won't have to say anything else. And so let's go ahead and take this appeal through, and then we'll see where we are after that.
10A has a motion.
Okay. Microphone 10A, does your motion pertain to this appeal?
It doesn't appeal to the appeal. No.
Okay. All right, very good. So the question before you is whether the decision of the chair shall be sustained. And so all of those who will wish for the motion to be still considered out of order will vote in the affirmative to sustain the ruling of the chair. And all of you who wish for the motion not to be ruled out of order will vote in the negative, not to sustain the decision of the chair. Are you ready for the question? As many of you as are in favor of sustaining the ruling of the chair that the motion was out of order, will you please lift your ballots? Thank you. You may lower them. As many as are opposed of sustaining the ruling of the chair, you may please lift your ballots at this time. Thank you. You may lower them. The affirmative has it, and the decision of the chair is sustained. The chair recognizes Spence Shelton from the Committee on Order of Business.
All right. Finally, the Committee on Order of Business reports that the following motions are we recommend to the chair to be considered and scheduled for later consideration in this convention. First, Todd Stennett from Tennessee to call for messengers to bring out his disposed resolution for a vote. And secondly, Jared Cornutt of Alabama to amend Article 6 of the Baptist Faith and Message 2000 to add elder overseer alongside of pastor.
Okay. Motions will be scheduled as recommended. Okay, hey, we got that done.